Misha has my email address. I send some PDFs of those exercises to display them to everyone. Okay? So you can practice those things. Everything that we've seen today, I can put it into PDF and I'll send that to you. Alright? I'm a good guy. I will make a little break too because I need to drink something. I'm sorry. What's the story? You're laughing at me. Yes. Alright. So I accept. Cheers. Merci.
Ja.
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to show something to that. Did you see that one?
It's a GB.
It's a GB. That's the one I was talking about.
But it's GB wood, yeah?
Yes, it's the wood. Yeah. And I love the like? Alright. I like the greenish and I like the color. Some gray Okay, so that's what I was talking about. It's beautiful. Just got that 1 month ago and it works pretty fine. Yeah, of course. I got 17 years. Because every year they give me one. So I'm really lucky.
If I'm good in mathematics, you play now 70 years tradition.
Sorry?
If I'm really good in mathematics,
oh.
Then you play 70 years tradition.
You're very good. It works.
Nein, die haben wir schon lange. Also die haben wir also wir Vertretung haben wir nicht mehr nichts zu tun. Wir haben jetzt ich bin es einfach genau. Er ist Michi und Leni von der Enos. Genau. Genau. Er ist, ja, er macht Leni und wenn du zum Beispiel an der Musikmesse bist, kannst du an Vichy-Stand und bei Leni steht er auf der Bühne. Und da spielt er eigentlich etwa genau das, was er zwischendurch als Lied spielt, über den Reib. Bist du schon nicht gesehen? Aber es spielt genau das. Und dann steht er am Herren. Und dann, wenn die Leute Fotos machen, sind sie macht die ein dummes Gesicht.
Ja, der Bock schon nicht, aber einiges schon.
Schade ist, dass er kein Rentner ist, weil er ohne Münch. Ich bin mal in Frankfurt und dann ist er her zu gefahren. Ich habe mit dem Chef noch ein bisschen geredet und dann findet er fängt an und die Fette sind besser wie es und dann fängt er noch spielen, was Fette sind. Also wir hätten eigentlich so einen Rat, der jetzt da zwischendurch mal wir reden. Ja, gut.
So what's going next? What can I show you? I guess you get a lot of information already, but well, yeah, I know. It makes a lot at one time. But I'll tell you what's inside. Do you want me to play a song? Just for relaxing the brain? Yeah? That's a very old song I'm playing now, but I love to play it because it's a mix in between very Panther-esque riffs and jazz rock at the same time. So it's one of the first songs we have with the band. And it's called The Tale of Thibaut, if it works. And it does. fell asleep in the middle of the song. So this is that's a tricky one to play sometimes. So that's it. It's a very old song, and it's been 20 years since I've been playing this song, and I still like it because it's there is some Alan Holdsworth in the middle, and there is also some Pantera riffs in the middle. So love it. And that's it. So, any more questions? So you're okay with the sweeping things?
Yeah.
Anybody? Sorry? Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you.
And where do you, or where did you the harmonic at the end? At the 12th fret?
No, I think it was,
okay.
So it's an A for me, but it's a B.
Yeah.
Fingering. It's supposed to be the Ravel's bolero. Just can't do it. But that's a cool thing to work on the control on your whammy board. That's something I really like to do. For example, just practicing scale just with the whammy. You're doing just to try to have control. Very simple melodies. That sounds stupid, but it's cool. You can make the formula one with it. I do that for my kids a lot. So.
Zach Wild does the same.
Sorry?
Zach Wild. Zach Wild.
Oh, the guy we were talking about? No? Zach Wild.
Zach Wild. No, that's the Austin guitarist.
Ah, Zach Wild. I'm sorry.
The same with this afterburn.
Yeah, well, that's a trick that a lot of guitarists do, but it's kind of funny. Actually, the first who did that was Van Halen in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? When he came up, you know, I think it was on the first or on the second album,
Yeah.
you got almost everything that's been doing afterwards. You got all the that Zach Wild is doing. You have all the things that not Satrini, but Steve Vai is doing. It's just unbelievable. These two albums are just like, you know, the book of pyrotechnics for guitar. There is everything, and I learned everything from that guy. Most of the things I'm doing with the whammy bar, I just took it from Eddie Van Halen because he did everything in 2 albums. And afterwards, nobody came with something as new as what he did at the time. So definitely, this is something to listen to. Any more questions? I mean, everybody has probably questions, so don't be shy. It's not only for the young people, it's also for the old people. You belong to the category of the young people.
I'm this category more.
Sorry?
I'm more in the age of the right side.
How old are you?
Me 40.
Okay. Still young. He said you're old. You're older than him? No. You're younger than him? Older than him? So I don't know whether you have questions, even basic things, even you know, something when you practice, whatever your level is. If I can give you some ideas, it's not only for the heavy metal players or just the shredders. It can be something else. So no.
Can you do some kind of counter lick or something?
Yeah. So I will take another guitar to be in the same tuning as you. So it's all about 2 things. It's the harmony and also the way you use the bends and things like this. So I'm going to show you some tricks that are more like the technique than the scales. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I guess it's probably more important because you can then use it for various different styles. What I love to do is to kind of fake a steel guitar. pedal steel, sorry. And one of the things I like, you know, most of the, let's say most of the country chords are major chords, right? So, for example, you have seventh chord. And what I very often do is I take a major, like say an A major here. Okay, but instead of doing the third here, I'm doing the second, and I raise it up to the third. That's a very good exercise for the strength of your left hand. So we're going to do that a little up on the neck to make it a little easier. You just with your small finger, you just do a bare chord on the 10th fret on the B and E string. Alright? With the fourth finger. And then you will use all three fingers to go from the second to the third. crazy. It's very complex. You can also, I sometimes use the minor third to approach the major third. For example, here. Or, so here is my F. I go to F sharp. No, not that. Yeah. No, half step. You get to control, it's not easy. And then here is my fifth. You get it? Yeah. It's not easy, isn't it? It requires a lot of control. Yeah? No, and then D, A, D, D. You get it or not? Didn't get the end? D?
Which finger you put?
Excuse me.
Which finger you
Yes, I'm on the E string.
with the okay with the
And then D, A, D, D. I'm really sorry if you can practice without having the volume up because I can't hear the questions.
The lick you played before with the pinky finger barred on 10th fret.
Yeah.
How do you bar it with? What do you do with your finger there? Or just because I learned when I bar with the index finger, I take the.
You mean what part of the? Well, I'm using the flat part here.
Just
pressing. Yeah, just pressing.
Not that I have to turn my finger.
No, you get to keep it. Well, actually, it depends on how you feel. Guitar is not an exact science. We are all different physically, so it has to be adapted to your body and to your hand. If you feel like you have to put it a little in a twisted way and it works, that's fine with me. I mean, it has to work. So whatever the movements you're doing or the way you're using your fingers, if it works, it's fine. You see so many players when you look at their hands, they have so many different ways of holding the guitar. So I'm no one to tell you what to do and what not to do. It has to be something you feel. And well, for me, it works like that. You know, it's very flat, and that's it.
I think I have to practice that because
maybe you're
weak.
Yeah. It's complicated to do bare chords with the pinky. It's not easy. So it requires a little bit of habit, and then little by little, I guess you will find the proper way to do it. Hopefully. So harmonically, what I'm using when I'm playing on a country content is the mixolydian. So it's it's a major scale, but with a flat seventh. So if I'm in D, for example, it will be. And you can also do like a minor pentatonic, but you add a major third. That's what we did this morning. That sounds very country-ish. So every time there is a minor third, I play the major third behind. So this is a D minor pentatonic, but every time there is an F, I play an F sharp right after. And that's the same when I'm going down. I play the F first, and then the F sharp.
But that's not a big step to blues.
Oh, it's the same thing. Actually, country and blues use almost the same kind of content. The only difference, in country you will also use the major pentatonic a lot.
Yeah.
So if I play a D chord, I will use also. So it's a mix in between minor and major pentatonic together. Here I played two scales together.
Yeah.
So here is the major pentatonic, and here is the minor, if I mix together. And that sounds country because you have that, you know, that mix in between minor and major at the same time, but still you have like a major feeling to it. And I would say that on the blues, the regular blues scale, you have more of a minor feeling.
Yeah.
That's the main difference. But both I would say, both licks work on both things. For example, if I'm playing this, keep that in your head. I'm playing, I will first play in minor key. Okay, now we play minor, major. Sorry. And now mix together the two. And that sounds country. So you always kind of navigate in between the two colors.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did this morning when we had the major third, the sixth, and then the second, and that's exactly it. You got it? Almost.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, well, once again, there are two things. The way you bend the strings, how you approach the notes by bending, just to give that pedal steel kind of feel, and what scales you're going to be using. So navigating in between major pentatonic and the minor pentatonic.
Yeah.
When you have that down, you sound country. Even if you play like a regular major chord, like an A chord, if I do this, I mix together major, and then I skip to minor, but I add the major third, and I'm back to the major, and it works. It sounds already country. That's the trick. I was about to get like. More questions? It's very. I have something to tell you that is very important, because most rock guitarists they use the bands, they band the strings, and it's very important to practice your bands, because that's really what makes the difference between somebody that sounds professional and somebody that sounds a little amateur or not controlled. Because the band can really sound ugly when it's too much or not enough. For example, if I do this, you heard that it's a little out of pitch. It doesn't work. I've been too far. And if I don't go far enough, same thing, it doesn't sound really professional. So you get to practice to have the exact pitch that you want to reach. So there are very simple exercises for this. You take a scale, for example, A major scale. Sorry. You have 3 notes per string. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? What I will do is I will play the 3 notes, and then I will go back to the second note and bend it until I reach the 3rd note. Oh. Just to make sure, wherever I am on the neck, whatever string I'm playing, whatever interval that I want to reach, I know approximately exactly where I want to go and exactly how it must sound. See what I mean? So that's very important, because then you can really control the amount of energy you would have to put on each string to reach the note you want to reach. And I would say that the result would be playing the scale without playing the 3rd note. And that sounds a little country. And once again. And if you want to sound country, well, if you want to sound bluesy, country, or whatever, this is definitely something you get to work on. Every time you're doing a blues lick, like how many times did I hear, or, you know, there's something missing. The guy plays very well. I'd rather hear somebody who plays slower and that goes really. Then hearing. It seems funny, but it's very important. Listen to people when you hear the great guitarist, the best guitarist. That's not about how fast they can play. That's always about how much expression they can put in every note. And my example is always Jeff Beck, because Jeff Beck to me is one of the best guitarists in the world. Well, to a lot of people he is. And actually, every time you hear Jeff Beck bending a note, you have the feeling that that's the most important note of his life. And he never does that, you know, like, okay, that's just another note. You really put every intensity possible in each note to reach the exact pitch that he wants to hear. And that's why he sounds like a voice. He sounds really like somebody singing, because he's trying to put a lot of expression in every bending he's doing. So I guess this is something to really think about. A lot of us think about practicing the technique to play as fast as possible, as clean as possible, whatsoever. The idea is to be as expressive as possible with very, you know, little adjustments. And bending strings is one of the most complicated things to achieve. It's probably more complicated to achieve a nice bending than a sweeping. Sweeping requires practice, but you can practice 8 hours. If you don't practice your melodic content and how expressive you can be, you still don't do any music. You're just like a robot who can play very fast, but who doesn't really make music and doesn't give any content to melody. You see what I mean? So it's very important. Well, everybody's silent now. No, that's very important. And so I just thought about that, about the country leagues, because when I listen to people like Danny Gatton, what's his name? Albert Lee, Jerry Donahue, all those people who are great names in the country world. When you listen to them, you're amazed about the technique, but all of a sudden you just realize it's not played very fast. It's just the way, you know, it all brings you to the important notes. And it's funny because you kind of forget that it's very technical at the end. You just hear something that is very natural and fluid. And that's definitely what working on your bands can help you achieving. I'm sorry. Yes?
Can you show us an exercise for transcribing? how to begin to transcribe?
I guess one of the best thing to, well, actually for transcribing, you get to work on your ear, right? And one of the best thing is to use yourself as a leading instrument. It means you have a melody in your head, and sometimes there is a big difference in between what we play and what we have in our head. The first thing to help yourself transcribing the best possible way would be just to try to copy melodies that comes out of your mouth. For example, you just go like, I don't know, you have this A chord, and you hear in your head, no, it's complicated, for example, alright? So try to see wherever you are on the neck, where are the notes that you have in your head. What is that? You hear it in the chord? Do you hear the note? I have this note in the area where I'm playing. I can start my melody from here. So not only did I work on my ear, but I also learned, one of the areas to play that melody. Now the next thing is to try to find another area with those notes. Let's go here. Well, I know, but you will give it a try. You will, okay, this is a C sharp. Here is the C sharp. Okay, let's see if I can find this somewhere else. Oh. Okay. And by just training your ear, trying to find those notes everywhere on the neck, without thinking about the shapes or the fingerings, you will kind of train your ear to listen to music independently from the guitar. So when you want to make a transcription of something, you will sing what you hear. You have a melody, you just sing it. You just don't try to play it at first. Just sing it, and then you teach it to yourself by trying to find this on the neck. And actually, a lot of things that when I was a kid, I used to transcribe almost all the songs I was listening to, not writing them, but trying to, just to copy them. And that's the way I was using the voice, because I could sing. I know when you sing, you are in tune. You have no problem singing. You don't sing false. Normally.
I don't hear it.
So that's a very good thing.
I think I'm singing right, but I don't know what others think about it. So.
Does somebody know him? Somebody has heard him singing? Yeah. Does he sing false?
No, I understand him. So
okay.
I thought you asked, do anybody understand this?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but well, you get to trust yourself. But it can start with very simple things. For example, try to sing the notes inside the chord. That's a big gap here in between the root and the fifth. That's a good way of practicing your ear, and it will help you for transcribing music, because then you will trust your ear, your voice, and you will use it as a tool to transcribe music. So every time I'm working on something new, for example, a new scale, a new arpeggio, a new chord, I'm singing it. And I've noticed in the past that the more I sing, the faster I can transcribe things, because I can really, if you want to ask general questions, go ahead. Or if you know what, I'm going to show you something. No? All right, well. You're a shy Swiss person.
Could you show the thing that we did before the break?
Oh, when we did the of course. So you're ready to be tortured again. So you remember there are 8 notes. All right. There's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. So I will do that note by note. So the first was just the bass. Alright? Then it was the left hand percussion. It's tricky. Then we had the right hand percussion. Okay, that's difficult. Then we have the bass again. 1, 2, 3, was somebody who was doing like, I could hear notes. It's really no notes. All right. So whoever it was, there is somebody guilty here. Oh, you're the devil. You're Judas. Good friends. I don't care about that asshole. So we have 1 and 2 and, alright? So 3 is going to be the chord. 1 and 2 and 3. Just play round and round. That's difficult. Alright? No? But it's really simple. The chord itself with those 3 fingers. Well, it will come back. It will come later. Then it's probably the most complicated. It's the next one because you will play the chord, and right after you will have to do this. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's difficult. All together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Sorry, I did wrong. Sorry, excuse me. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Yes. It's mental. Sorry. And then we have on the fourth we have the right hand. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3. When you go back. I can't stand it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. No? No, it's not easy. It's not easy. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 4. It's difficult after lunch. And the 4 and will be just one finger doing the ghost note here. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 4 and. If somebody comes in right now, you will really wonder what we're doing. But the result is cool. Hey, we started the duo. I'm your man. But it sounds cool because you have the feeling that you have a band. Okay, is it clearer now?
Thanks.
That's exactly, I'm showing that sometimes in workshop because people ask me about that. I do a lot of slap on the guitar, you know, that kind of thing. Sorry. But that's exactly the same actually. It's just instead of having the plectrum, I'm using my thumb. But the sounds, the percussions are exactly the same. So it's 1 and 2 and 3. So it's exactly the same thing. The only thing is that it's hard to find the technique to do that properly. I don't know whether you're interested in this or not. I don't know. Yeah? No? No? Next time. When I come back next year, alright? It's pretty cool. me if you need some help. You wanted to try the...
Yeah.
Well, it's a little tricky. But actually, I can show you because the 4 sounds are very basic. And you know most of them. Actually, there are 4 sounds. The first sound is probably the less natural because you're not using the plectrum. You're using the joints in between the 2 parts of the thumb, you know, the bone here. And that's what's tricky because you get to find the sound. One thing, important thing, if you do that, you get to use this pickup. Because if you use that pickup, you will just have the... It doesn't sound good. So you use number 5 or number 4. Simply. You get to close your hand because you're going to use the fingers. Excuse me. When I'm explaining that, if you play at the same time, nobody will listen. You get to put your hands closed to do it because then you will have to use those fingers. Alright? So when you do that, you close your hand and it's just a rotation of the forearm. And you don't have to hit hard. That's the first sound. Okay. Then the second sound is what we did before, is this. Simple. You just know 1 and 2 and. Right, easy. The third sound, you keep the strings muted here, and you will just do this or do that. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. So this sound is the same that when we were doing. So yeah. Simple. Alright? The fourth sound is just using 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers to do. So you put the strings from behind. 1, 2, 3. Right. So here I'm playing on the 5th fret on the D string. So of course you can have 2 notes. 3 notes. 4 notes. But 1 is enough. And when you have that, you have all the sounds that you need. Because the rest is just hammer-ons and pull-ups. You're right. But basically, these are 4 sounds. That's it. Afterwards, the complicated thing is to drop this when you play, to drop in some leads when you play with the plectrum, because you get to find a way to, you know, like not having the plectrum in a way. So there are various ways for doing this. For example, imagine I'm doing. So I just put it here. So I can still use my, it's like a magic trick, you know. Then, when I do this, I do that. And then it's back. trick is to put it here. That's when you want to have multiple chords. I just missed it, I'm sorry. It's tricky. Most of the time I use that when I'm not doing any riff in between, just to have all the chords. So I'm not using it in the situation I was describing. I'm not doing. Well, yes, I can do it. And a last trick is to put it here, so you can still use this. And that's the three things I'm using. So it's tricky, right?
By this fast version,
Sorry?
you play a faster version of this. You play it now.
Yes.
Yeah. By this version, you don't make the. You make
Yes.
it.
Every time.
Fast.
Sorry?
Fast.
Yes, I'm doing it.
So you don't make this whole way. You make.
Well, because I'm strong enough to have a. I can do that without you know, without at some point you know how to master it without making effort, and you know I can really get the sound even if I'm doing very small movement. It comes with time. I'm sorry. And well, that's it. I mean, it looks like it's complicated, but it's just a matter of practicing. And if you practice this, I mean, you have mainly all the sounds. The only thing that is really different is that I'm using the thumb instead of using the plectrum. But I can do. So I just played this. I could do the same thing here. Now I'm using the plectrum, and it sounds like a normal, let's say, a normal rhythm pattern. So that's it. You got an idea of the...
Yeah, could you do it slowly, this pattern?
So there is a hammer on. So 1, 2, 3.
Ah, okay.
So it's 4, 1 note, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's tricky to okay, and then that's the tricky part. There are two thumbs right up to each other. So listen. And another 4, 1. It's a little tricky. It's more tricky than it sounds. So here is the idea behind slap, alright? Let's do something different now, alright? Okay, I just wanted to give you some exercises about the left hand, because sometimes we have a hard time having independence on each finger, and it's very good to have exercises that helps you getting some more independence in between the fingers and gaining some strength. Because, for example, our little finger is always weaker, and we have problems using those two fingers at the same time. All right. So I will show you. It's a scale that's called the diminished scale. Most people don't use it, but it's very good to use it for exercising the left hand. All right. So we're going to start on an A on the 5th fret on the low E string. All right. And that scale is very easy to remember because it is symmetrical. It means you will have exactly the same fingering all the way through. It's 1, 3, 4. So let's say 5, 7, 8. Then you have 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. Yeah. Then you move up 1 fret and you do the same. So it's 4, 6, 7, 4, 5, 7. And again on the last 2 strings. It sounds really beautiful. So listen. Excuse me, 1 minute. I'm gonna play that for you straight ahead so you have an idea of how it sounds. So if you look at the fingers, it's 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4. It means that all the fingers are used equally, apart from the first one, which is always stronger. But you have all the fingerings that you need to practice. 1, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 4. So now what we're going to try to do is to play it up and down in a very regular way. It means, what does that mean? It means that when you are on the last string, you will just play 2 notes. You'll see why. And then again. And this is a fantastic exercise to practice the strength of your fingers. It doesn't look pretty cool, but it can be useful in certain harmony contexts. If I play a diminished chord, you can hear that it works on this chord. You never use that chord, whatever. So we're going to try to do that right now, very slowly. Maybe turn down your volume for a second and just practice that scale to make sure everybody has understood it. Everybody get the fingering? Yeah? It's important because I will show you some different exercises to practice your left hand. So once again, 5, 7, 8, 5, 6, 8, 4. You got it? Well, it's very easy actually because on the 2 strings, it's the same thing. Yeah, exactly. So you can play that around and around. Just to make sure you got it. Okay? Everybody got that? It's good for everyone. Oh, maybe. I will show you something, madam. I will show you something that's going to help you because you're using the guitar very far away from your body. What you can do if you want to have a lot more control on your left hand is to use the way classical guitarists hold their guitars. Because the thing is that then you will have the wrist that is really on the same line as your fingers. So you won't be like that. You'll really be like this. And this is the way, the best way to hold the guitar. So you can play, you know, like one finger equals one fret, and really do it like that. There's no tension, and your hand is not going to be twisted. That's good for everyone. I mean, if you want really to practice your left hand in the best possible posture, this is definitely the way to do it. Alright? So, the next group of notes, you just move one fret higher, and you go for same thing. Everybody got it? And on the two last strings, exactly the same. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Alternative?
Excuse me, just once again.
Is it alternative picking?
Alternate. Well, you choose. I mean, personally, I'm not doing alternate on those things. I'm doing like, you know, fast picking. So I do up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, down. Every time I'm moving from a string to another, I'm using the sweeping technique. But you can practice. This is good too. So you make your choice. You can even practice your legato on this. It's good for the left hand. Okay. Everybody got it? Or are there some people doubting? It's good. Yeah, good. It's a little tricky, sorry. So, the concept behind this scale is that since you have 1, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 4, you can apply almost all kind of figures, all kind of patterns to it. And that's what I'm doing when I'm warming up before a concert, before a workshop or things like this. I just take this scale. So I go up, down, and then I apply some patterns like then I go for something a little more complicated. For example, what I showed you this morning. You can skip strings. And with this scale, you get all the possible movements you can have with your left fingers. So you're completely warmed up in a very balanced way because all your fingers are going to be working exactly the same. And you will see that it's very helpful to develop the strength of your fourth finger, to develop the independence in between the ring finger and the pinky, because most of the time it's very difficult to have those two fingers moving independently. And here you will really practice something that helps you developing this. So, does anybody get a problem? You get the scale now?
Yeah.
Yeah? So we're going to try this. We're going to consider that there are 3 notes per string. You're okay? So with 3 notes. 1, 2, 3 notes. Okay? Instead of just playing up and down the scale, we're going to do this. Means I'm playing always index, and then the highest notes with the pinky, and then I'm back to the previous notes, and then I play again the pinky. Everybody got this on the first string? 5, 8, 7, 8. Okay, let's do that in a row. What you're going to try to do for the posture of your left hand, you're going to try to really touch the notes with the tip of your finger. You don't have to, squeeze your fingers. It must be really like this. Just with the tip, no squeeze position. All right. And just one finger at a time. You never have two fingers at the same time on the fretboard. Just one. And so you're building up independence here. Okay, it sounds very classical. But that's not what we're doing. Yeah, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen.
And are you also not muting the other strings with your first finger?
No, you don't need to. Normally, if your playing is really tight and clean, you don't need to. What I'm using most of the time is the edge of my thumb to control the strings I'm not playing, to control the low strings. So for example, if I'm on the D string, I would put my thumb in between the A string and the low E string, just to mute them. Which means that if I was doing like a sweeping thing, like, sorry, at the end, my right hand thumb controls the strings I'm not playing. I don't need to do anything with the left hand here. Alright? So, here we go again. So now, if I want to play the same thing on the A string, it will be with the second finger this time. And now, I can play both. The idea is that every finger has a very specific role, and every finger is independent. It doesn't depend on the others, first thing. Second thing, you will practice your right hand without thinking of it, because every time you're changing from string to string, you have a different angle, and you have a different way of holding the guitar, all right? And the last thing is that you will have all the combination of of the complicated 4 fingers patterns. You would have the 1, 3, 4, the 1, 2, 4, which are 2 main patterns that you're using. So you're doing a lot of things at the same time, and you are getting a lot more control on your fingerings. And you will see that after trying this for maybe, let's say, 5–10 minutes, when you're going to do the regular things that you are used to doing, like simply just going up and down a scale, you will be very comfortable because your fingers will be warmed up in a very equal way. See what I mean? So what we're going to try to do, just to see if everybody got it, we're going to start from the E string and we play each pattern 2 times. I just show that to you. We're going to do this. And try to be as clean as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, not everybody was ready. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up. It sounds boring, but the cool thing is that it helps you without having to think about, you know, harmony or whatever. It helps you having an exercise that is really structural. It's really helpful for just getting something very structured. All right. What you can do for the most advanced of you is to use this with you know, like what we call broken scales. I don't know whether you know what a broken scale is. You know when you are doing this. I'm making groups of 4 notes, and then I start from the next, etc., etc. And you can apply this to this scale, and it's going to be tricky because you will have a lot of different fingerings. It's a fantastic exercise to warm up without making any extension, without being too violent. The idea is not to play super fast, that kind of thing. It's to have your brain controlling the independence of each finger, which is way more important than playing fast. Because here you have to stay under control. It's not just doing something very fast. It's really, what am I going to do? What finger is going to play what notes, etc. I know it's hard. Digestion is really hard. You know that. No, but I'm sorry. It's a little boring. That's a cool exercise, and then you're really warmed up. So now you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make a fake shred version. So, well, if some of you want to try maybe to turn down your volume and just give a try for the most advanced, if you want to do this. Because you will see that the fingerings are really tricky at some point. Okay, Okay, so maybe just take a couple minutes, all of you, and depending on your level, just try to go around that kind of fingerings and everything. So what you can do also, I'm sorry, then you can check it out. You know, we did that before. Remember that? You can do the other way around, like means I start with the fourth finger, which is supposed to be the weakest, and I will do 4, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, etc., etc. Got it? This is really tricky. Sorry. That's very good for the brain, because we are going the other way around this time. That's terrible for the brain, right? Yes, so it's... television exercises. I mean, you're watching TV and you don't want to think about the scale, you don't want to think about chords, you don't want to think about anything that has to do with harmony. You just want to practice your technique. This is exactly what you need, because your brain is going to be like on standby and it's just going to be mechanical. And when you jump back to playing your regular scales, you will see that all of a sudden you get a lot of control and your fingers do exactly what you want them to do, and it's really useful. For example, I remember having some students who had a really hard time, you know, getting his independence from fingers, and when we did that, which is really tricky, I heard him maybe like 1 week afterwards. He was practicing this on his regular scale, like doing. He couldn't go faster than let's say. Maybe 90 beat per minute, and after 1 week of practice, it just increased until 110, which is a huge gap. He was from pa 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 to ta pa ta pa ta ta pa ta ta, and now he's a real shredder. He's a guy who knows really how to play very fast, and he's very clean. And he told me that by just practicing these small exercises, he just kind of doubled his speed on the left hand. So I guess this is really useful, because this is something that the brain has no hard time to analyze, because it's very easy, it's very symmetrical. Okay? So I guess this is useful. So I don't know whether some of you want to try maybe silently, just to see if they have a problem, and then we can go to something different. Maybe. You see the trick at some point when you go from the A string to the D string?
Right. Yeah.
That's a big problem, because you have to do. So that's really the kind of problems that you have when you play a major scale and you go from. And the fact that you think one note equals one finger, it helps the brain getting the good fingerings. So that's the idea. once you've done that, try to play a scale that you master very well, and you will see the difference probably. Just take a regular major scale, and all of a sudden you will feel a lot more comfortable, hopefully. I swear, like tonight when you go home, you will do. That's incredible. I'm playing in a couple of hours. Could be good if it was like that, right? No. Sorry. This would be a lie. But once again, it's not just for playing fast, it's just to be a little more aware of what we do, simply. I don't think playing fast is the point here. The point is to trying to have a solution for any kind of fingering, that's it. Even for chords. You know when you have chords a little complicated chords like this, well, one finger is on one string and sometimes they are not in a row. It's very cool to be able to know exactly where to put your fingers. You know, that's complicated. That's a tricky chord to play, for example. But I know exactly what finger I'm going to use on what string, so I don't even think about it. That one is tricky too. And the simple fact that I know exactly what finger is going to be used on what string, I have no hard time finding the fingerings. And the extension is difficult, and it's another problem. Fingering is the problem. There are some tricky chords that needs no extension. For example, the major seventh with the ninth here is stringy to play. It's not the natural fingering of that one. There are some very small chords that are complicated because the fingers, you don't know what order to put them. And using this will help you with chords too. It's a winner. Any question about it? You get the idea? The boring idea? You got it? Do you have questions about that? No? It's okay for everyone? So, of course, you can practice those scales in all various ways that you want. I mean, I did groups of 4 when I did, 3, 4. You can make a group of 3. You can make groups of, 8, as we said this morning. That's tricky. Because there is one direction, and then you change direction. So you have many different fingerings you can try that. Whatever. What? What are you saying, madame? Qu'est-ce que tu as dit? I don't want to embarrass. So what we saw on this scale, then you can apply it to any scale. I mean, if you are trying, I don't know whether you know the major scale. Okay, you can practice exactly the same thing. You can practice the... And you will see that you will find all solutions about the fingerings, etc., etc., etc. All right? And thinking that way will help you increasing your speed, the cleanness of your playing, so there will be no finger left that doesn't exactly know what he has to do. It will help you finding new ways of practicing your scales, because most of the time we go up and down, and we don't really know other ways to practice the scale. So this is another idea. You will probably have a better ear because you will know exactly what you do, and you will be a little more aware of the value of each note in the scale. That's a little bit about what we talked this morning, knowing the intervals. It helps you hearing intervals way way more precisely. So it's kind of an all-in-one exercise, right? I'm sorry it's a little boring, but I wanted to show you this because I guess it's very important for getting a better left hand. All right? I think we get 1 hour left. I don't know, but I checked and it was about this. Yes. So at that point, I can play a song, or we can skip to something different. Yeah.
I want to ask, did we nothing for the right hand more?
Oh, we can do whatever you want. We can do sweeping, we can do alternate.
I don't know how the word exercise in English.
Alternate pick.
You want to work on up and down, up and down?
Some lesson for the...
Oh, how to be precise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one of the things that is very important is to try to stick to the strings as much as possible. For example, what we're going to do, we don't use anything on the left hand. You're just going to put your plectrum on the top of the string, all right? And you're not going to do this. You're just going to try to move around the string, but without. You must always be in contact with the string until you're on the other side. See what I mean? Doing this, just this. All right? So very small movement, and you will accelerate until you get a sound. Now I get a sound, all right? I'm still in contact with the string. And you will discover one very interesting thing is that what we call the micro alternate. I don't know whether you learned about that at the GIT, but instead of doing this, you will come up with something where you just use your thumb and your index. You see what I mean? So I don't have to move my hand, I just move my index and thumb. And this is very useful when you want to do those. Yeah, I'm taking it up, taking it up, taking it up. I'm not moving my hand at all. I'm not doing. I just do it. You see the movement? It's tricky first. So look, the idea is you can hold your own hand and just use the thumb and the index. You see what I mean? No? Look at that. Look at my right hand. It's not moving. It's the thumb and the index. So I make no effort. Look, I smile. No effort. So that works for a single string attack. Of course, when you are going to change string, you will have to have a movement. But what you can do if you want to work on motricity of this, you do like. And if you look carefully, my right hand doesn't move at all. This is just the thumb and the index. You see the idea? So this is very interesting because sometimes when you play on stage, for example, you have a lot of adrenaline and you tend to, put too much pressure on your right hand. This is a good way to control the pressure and to do a little less, less movement. And then you can try to move from a string to another. Here, I'm not using this, I'm not doing which is tricky, I'm just doing. One, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3. You know, when I play slowly, look at it. ideas. Of course, you can work on being very, but it requires that you're a little, you have a lot of tension in the right hand when you do that. And you won't be able to play 2 hours like that. But if you do, there's absolutely no energy. See, with a smile, you make no effort. That's one of the ideas. So it's really a micro movement. So you can practice that with open strings and just go like. Try to listen to me 1 second. Think about that. Put your hand on the bridge. Put your hand on the bridge. Okay. On the top of the bridge here. Put your hand. All right. Now you do this. You really try to stick to the string. No sound, but it's not a problem. It's normal. And if you do that, you notice that your hand is not moving at all. It's just the thumb that's pushing the plectrum. And then it's the index that pushes it back, all right? That's exactly it, not more, just this. So if your hand is moving, then you're wrong. It must be just the index and the thumb. All right? The hand must not move at all. All right? One thing, the sound is not as good as when you do. But here the idea, if I understand exactly what you meant, is when you play with distortion and you want to have some very fast single note things. That's the technique. Of course, if you want to play like, let's say, real alternate on scales like you have to move your hand. It's not the same thing, but here see what I mean? It's not the same technique. Is this okay?
That's okay.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can practice that with your, of course, with your left hand included. So you go, for example, what we did before. Which is different from here. My fingers are very stiff, and it's my right hand that does the job. What I did before was just, sorry. Different. See what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, I thought you were asking a question.
No?
Oh.
No,
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
What you're doing that also that fits what you make of the by the right hand fits with the what you do what you do by the left hand.
You mean the synchronization?
Yes.
Well, the exercise we saw before is very good for that. You know but I would say the best exercise to get good synchronization and a good control on the rhythm pattern is to work independently on the left and on the right hand. For example, you can take, you know that exercise we did before? Try to imagine that you just hit once on each string and you do the rest with your left hand. This is a very good exercise to get some control on the synchronization. Because here, it's just the left hand that does the job. That's exactly, you were asking about legato this morning. This is one of the very good exercises. And I just hit the string and I change the string. And you very slow, so you force your fingers to do the sound. This is complicated because your pinky is not very strong, but he has to do the notes. And once you have that, then you put back your right hand. That's tricky. You got the idea?
Yes.
And when you practice your legato, it's good to have distortion because you can see if you have control over the cleanness of your sound. You know, it must really be and nothing else. Because sometimes when you do legato, it goes like that's not what you want to have. That's really the point, so that's a good way to practice. And you will see in the beginning it's difficult because you have no sound in your left hand. And little by little you get a lot more control, a lot more force, and then when you synchronize with the right hand, both hands know exactly what they have to do. Okay. Alright? So you have some very interesting Ingrid Malmsteen patterns for that. I was playing that before, you know. Malmsteen, you know who he is?
Yes, yes.
You know that guy that plays some strange guitar. This is very good. Very good exercise. It's exactly the same pattern as what we did before, but on a scale. So it's in A minor. And I will show you something else about synchronizing both hands. You remember this morning we did that, playing up and down. All right. So let's go back to this, everybody. So it's on the D string and on the G string. 5 7 5 7 5 7 5 7. And here you just play up and down, up and down. Now everybody, listen to me. Everybody will turn down the volume completely and see how fast it can go. So you will see, maybe it will be like, you will see how fast you can go, okay? Everybody tries, just turn down the volume, so, and go as fast as you can, just try to remember that, alright? So you have an idea. It's not a competition to know who is the fastest, it's just for you to know what's the fastest you can get with that pattern. So now, okay, everybody has an idea, approximately? Alright. Now you will try 3 different ways of doing this with the right hand. Here we did some up, down pattern. Now you're going to turn it around and make down, up with exactly the same finger in here. So you will go. That's tricky for me. I can't go faster than that. So now I know that my first pattern being my more comfortable pattern, I would have to practice that one to just increase the speed of my right hand. The funny thing is that we're doing exactly the same with the left hand, but the simple fact that we do it the other way around with the right hand makes it trickier. Can you feel the difference? Can you feel that it's trickier to do? Yeah? And we can't go as fast, right? Yeah. So just give it a try. Once again, turn down the volume and try to see how fast you can go with up, down, up, down, up, down. And be very serious. When you go wrong, you stop. Okay, everybody did it, tried it. So now, the third version will be up, down, down, up. Means you will make a sweeping in between each string. So I go up, down, down, up, up. That's what you did this morning. For me, it's the easiest because I play a lot of sweeping technique. So up, down, down, up, down, down, up. This is unnatural for a lot of people. So up, down, down, up, up, down, down, up. That's tricky. You don't get it? Up, down, down. That's really tricky. It's called speed picking. That's what the guitarists from the 90s were using a lot. Malmsteen is doing that, for example. Frank Gambale, all the shredders, let's say, from the 80s. And the last thing is to see how fast you can go without the right hand by just, hitting the string when you change strings. So simply legato. So here, just one per string. So I'm always speaking about synchronization between two hands. You will make this exercise on all the fingerings. Here we did 1 3 1 3. You try it with 1 4 1 4, 1 2 1 4, 1 2 1 3. Tricky. 1 3 1 2. That's horrible. Ah, I gotta work on that one. 1 4 1 2. 1 4 1 3. Etc. etc. And every time you do it with the 4 patterns, I can tell you, you will increase your synchronization in between the two hands dramatically. In a few weeks, you'll be way better. You get the idea? It's tricky because it's not natural and it's a little bit of a torture, but it can really help you increasing. Alright? That's an idea. Yep.
Can you show us a sweeping technique?
Yeah, of course.
Of all the board, on the whole board.
You mean for like No.
No.
Yes. Well, actually, when I'm doing that, I'm using the basic minor or major chord position. So, for example, if I'm in E on the 12th string, I will go like up, down on the first string. Sorry, down, up, and then I will sweep the 5 strings. See? This is really a minor chord. So it's 12, 15, 14, 14, 12, 12, 12. And then when you're on the last string, you will go. You see the idea? Well, actually, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of guitarists are doing this, and you don't hear the difference. Okay, if I just do like that. You don't hear the difference with here I'm playing all the notes. But if you do, most people don't see the difference. You got it? You have it? You hear the thing? You know that pattern? You got the pattern?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you can do is you have various ways. I don't like this pattern very much because it's really like it's a fake. It's, how to say this?
Cheating.
Sorry?
Cheating.
Yes, a little bit of it. Because, well, of course, you can work on being very precise and trying to have all the notes going out. But rhythmically, you're doing something that is not really controlled. I prefer to have patterns that really mean something rhythmically. So, for example, taking only the 4 last strings and having something that goes. Because here you get something that is really exactly time-wise a pattern. See what I mean? So I will show you the one I'm using right now. I'm starting on the E on the D string on the 14th fret. Okay, with the first finger. Then I will play the 5th on the G string. So on the 16th fret. Okay. Then I have the octave on the B string. 1, 2, 3 for the fingers. Then I have the minor third on the 15th fret on the E string. Next one. Yes, first finger.
First finger. Oh yeah. Go up.
You must have, look, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay? And then you have the 5th with the small finger. Okay? And you come down. You got it? No? Your last note was wrong. Yeah. So here you have, do you get it? You get it? You get it? So to me it's more important to master a position like that one because rhythmically it makes sense. It's really if you want to make it major, and if you want to make it diminished, so you have a pattern that really fits with one definite, let's say, group of notes. It's not just, you know, cheating and doing the. You can do whatever you want. It sounds like crap, but it makes an impression. But it's not really musical. Here, this is musical. See what I mean? So I understand it's cool to have patterns on 6 strings, but most of the time they don't make sense rhythmically.
So they played 4 strings.
4 strings
Mostly.
is, to me, the most musical thing. So you can do things on 6 strings, but it's a little trickier. You can run away from the let's say the regular shapes and do something that is a little more musical. For example, I love to play 9th chord, for example, here. You know that kind of idea? That sounds a lot more musical to me. And here you have, how do you say this in English? When you have 6 notes per bit. sextuplets. Right.
Well,
two triplets. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. It's much more musical. Oh, I didn't practice that today. I don't like it when they speak Swiss German. Because now I know about the secret language. What did you say? Bastards! Did you get this? No?
No, I get not this.
You get nothing?
I get much with this.
Do you know what the ninth chord is? It's a chord that has a root, a fifth, and a ninth. Alright? So that's my starting point. I'm in the key of A. So I have A, E, D, B, sorry. You need to use your hand wide open. No. It's just on the 3 first strings. Like almost. Yeah. Alright? Then the next 3 strings are going to be 7, 8, 10. So first you gotta try this. So you can play this in a row like, you know. Okay? Then, to make a loop with this, you will go. You go up 2 frets up. 12, yes, with the slow. 12, 10, 9, and then 12. Exactly. So now we have this. So you can just loop it. Sounds cool already. So you can try that one. Sorry. You like that? You like that too? Well, you can practice this and find other ways. That's one of the things I like to use.
How's the name? Ninth?
This is a 9th chord. So you got roots, 5th, 9th, 4th, minor 7th, and the 4th again. Okay? Oh, I guess everybody is starting to get tired. I might play a song. Everybody's playing at the same time. Try to relax a little bit because everybody is playing at the same time. Is it okay with that? Good ideas? I don't know whether you like, if you like sweeping, there are very easy exercises, what I call the cross exercises, where you go on 3 strings, that kind of thing. So it's a minor triad, E minor triad, so 9, 8, 7. No, the other way around, Start with the 3rd finger, minor. No. Almost, yeah. Okay? And then you do it the other way around. But it sounds good, because you can just go very fast with it. It's just sweeping. Down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, up, up. Cheap, but it works.